Hello, I'm Stuart Bloor. The rod is out, and while I'm waiting for a fish, I read a newspaper article recently that was based on a report that had been conducted and published, and it said that the great outdoors is good for you. Now, we all know from a physical perspective that out and about is obviously good for your body, but this wasn't talking about the physical side of things, but rather from a mental angle. It was saying that getting out there is actually good for you. Now, as anglers, we know that already, and I include fishing in the great outdoors. You think of the times when you're at home and maybe you feel a bit under the weather. Perhaps, this is often in my case, you feel a bit tired, you've had a busy day, and you don't always feel like going out fishing. What happens? If you give in to it, you just get worse, don't you? But if you make yourself go, you get out there and you always get lifted. I think of the times that I've been tired. I've had a busy morning, done a lot of work, and I'm due to go out in the afternoon, and my body's saying to me in some ways, don't go, a bit too tired. But what I do is I override that, and I force myself to get out there, if you could use those terms. But always, once I'm out there, I always enjoy it. And that's a good thing, isn't it? So, angling is good for you, not just from a physical perspective of getting out and about in the great outdoors, but perhaps more importantly from a mental angle. It's good for your mind, it's good for the soul, it's good for the spirit. Can't beat it, can you? First bite. I've been here about 5 minutes. The tip pulled round, convinced it was a chub, but I can see it out there in the water. It's actually a bream. Anyway, that's coming in now, and it's in the net. And I've just had a text. And there's the fish, quite a nice bream. If you were a matchman catching these, as I've said before when I've caught them when I've been chub fishing, you'd certainly be happy, wouldn't you? A few of these in your net would give you a good tally. I just had an incredible pull round. I must admit I was daydreaming a bit, and a split second my rod's gone. Not gone as such, but you know what I mean. Anyway, this definitely is not a bream. If this is a bream, I'll eat my hat. I think this is my target species. It feels like a nice enough fish. I can see it out there. Maybe a couple of pound or so. Maybe a little bit bigger. But very, very welcome as it comes over the landing net. I lift into it and I've caught it. I hate hook pulls, especially when it's right at the net. But in this case, I'm a happy camper. And now I've got the fish out. This is bigger than £2, as you can see there. Cracking chub, beautiful, late autumn, early winter, canal caught chevin. Brilliant. Another one bites the dust. As you can see, that's another decent chub. It's a lovely bronzy colour. They're fantastic, aren't they? There was a time when the chub was my favourite fish. In all honesty, my favourite fish is whatever I'm after at that time, really. Brilliant. Right, let's get this one back. And who knows, could be in for a few more, couldn't I, this afternoon? Well, I didn't catch, but I'm back. And as always, I'm hopeful. Confidence is a big factor in angling, I feel. It's no good going fishing thinking you're blank. If you go in with that sort of approach, the chances are you probably will blank anyway. But you can't be overconfident either. Arrogance is a bad characteristic, whether it's in angling or life in general. To be quietly confident, to go fishing thinking, I am going to catch, I will catch something today, but to be realistic as well. I think that's the perfect way forward. Confidence, but within the framework of realism. And anyway, I've just cast out and I've got a few little taps on my rod already. The taps developed, and I think I know what this is. It's not a chub, and It is confirmed as it comes to the surface, a bream. At least I'm not a blanker, am I? Anyway, this one's going back, and hopefully I'll get my target species, the chub. A fantastic pull round. Now I've got a feeling that this could possibly be a carp. Having said that, I think it's just a chub, but a big one at that. Oh, it's coming in. It is a chub. Not as big as I thought, but you know what these fish are like? They take off, don't they? And they really give their all in the first few moments. Actually, it's not that big at all. It's like being on live radio, making all these statements, which in reality aren't backed up. But I've got me a nice small chub in the net. Now look at the size of that. That's just a baby, isn't it really? Now if I'd have lost this, I would have been absolutely convinced that I'd have had a 6-pounder on the end of the line. Just goes to show, doesn't it? Anyway, it's very welcome, as indeed every fish I catch is. I'm sure you've done that yourself. You hook into something and you're absolutely convinced you've got a monster on the end of the line, only to be totally amazed when you actually bring it to the net. Now that fish for sure was punching well above its weight. It was a bit like a non-league team in the 5th round of the FA Cup. I've put some loose boilies out. I'm fishing with M2. You've seen those already. Sorry, M1. Hang on, I'll do that again. I've put some loose boilies out. I'm fishing with M1. They're 10mm. You've seen those already. I've also put out a couple of handfuls of pellets. The water temperature is quite good, so the fish should be active. And always remember, with bait anyway, you can always put more in, but once it's there, you can't take it out. That's important. Feeding is an essential ingredient in a successful session, particularly at this time of the year. But as I say, the water temperature is quite good anyway. We're in a mild spell at the moment. And I've also put some ground bait out. And the ground bait is just on its own, nothing added to it at all. Quite a sloppy mix. What I want to do, as I often do in situations like this, sessions like this, I want to attract small fish. Now, a lot of anglers, specimen anglers particularly, don't want the small fish in the swim, but I actually like them because I'm a great believer that a crowd attracts a crowd. And if those small roach, the bream even, and all the other fish come into the swim, then that will give the chub more confidence to feed. And that's the plan, and that's the plan that I often go with on sessions like this, and it works. And it's great when a plan comes together, and I've just had a lovely pull round. No bream this morning, although, oh no, speak too soon. The dreaded hook pull. I was about to say no bream this morning, straight into the chub, but never mind. It happens, doesn't it? Can you see that branch there? That's just speared out of the tree and it's gone into the soil about 2 inches. Now I'm not saying that if it hit me on the head it would have killed me, but it certainly would have been painful, and I think this is one of the reasons why we need to be careful when we're fishing close to trees, under trees, and also as well where we park our car. That's also important. The last thing you want to do is get back to the vehicle and you've got a tree or half a tree on top of it. I ended up blanking on session 3, so much for this 3rd time lucky business. Anyway, here I am on my final outing of the week, and I'm just about to net my favourite, the bream. Well, you know one thing, there's no such thing in my book as a nuisance fish, because it means that I haven't blanked. And as I've said so many times, if you were a matchman and you were catching a few of these, you'd be a happy camper, wouldn't you? Another bream, and that one has actually taken the double boilies, the 10mm boilies, right inside its mouth, and I need the disgorger for it. So that's quite something, isn't it? It's not often you get hair rig baits taken right down. No bream this time as a chub. Hopefully comes to the net. Yes. Not a big fish, but after my blank, the last session, very, very welcome indeed. And this actually is my final outing of the week, so it's great to end with my target species.